example of the lizard. There's also in the 18th century in Britain the example of the peppered moth, where the moth, they were of a certain color. They used to pitch on the tree barks. Now, because of the Industrial Revolution and the amount of soot in the atmosphere, the tree barks changed. They became a dark color. And so the moths were being eaten by the birds. And after that, the moths started to change to match the color with the tree bark. Now, I hear you all saying, oh, but they're still moths. They didn't change to a different animal.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
anybody who's saying that don't know what evolution is, and they're just
sure.
talking. Evolution does not say one animal changing to a different kind of animal. All right, it's gradual changes. So they change into a different species, but it would be a similar species. We know it's a different
It would
species
still be a
because
moth, right?
it
It
would still
wouldn't
be a
be a
moth.
butterfly.
Hold on,
But
y'all. That's your time. That was your minute. Now,
Okay,
All right,
I just
I'm
wanted
next.
to ask him a quick question. Hold on,
I'm
Abdul
hold
is
on,
next.
next.
hold on.
Go ahead.
Abdul is next.
Let me moderate, Brock. You coming in? And you said they
I
changed
just
it
want,
to you said they changed it to another species, but they're another species. You said something at the end there.
No, I said they change into another species, but it would not be completely different like a lizard changing into a bird, like
Uh-huh.
the pseudos try to say.
So,
It would
so
be it
by
would be still be, it would be a similar species to what it changed from,
Okay, JJ,
but the
can I
okay,
go
difference
next
is
now?
no, Abdul next.
okay,
How
I
can
did.
I
Abdul,
call next?
please.
The
These are
hell?
my words because he was talking to me,
All right,
Google
we're gonna let
Scholar.
that go like a
Okay,
2 minute.
Let me read
I
the
go after Abdul.
definition.
Go
I
ahead,
just want to read the
Abdul.
definitions of evolution versus adaptation, is what he said right there. The main difference between adaptation and evolution is that the adaptation is the short term change of organisms to suit their environment or habitat. Whereas the evolution is the long term change that occurs in the genetic level for better functioning and survival. Furthermore, adaptation leads to evolution. Now, I say adaptation. What he just mentioned about those moths, they changed color. That's not evolution. They adapted to the surrounding environment, as what I just read, and I'm going to post it back there because I just don't want you to take my words for it.
I
And
got
then,
sources.
and
I got
then,
sources for
and then,
That
days.
was good. That's a
and
good
then,
argument, Abdul.
and then I'm going to post the definition of evolution and the definition of adaptation. Now, you know, as people, we adapt. That's what we do. We adapt. We ain't evolved nothing. We have had 5 fingers or 10 fingers and 10 toes. We ain't grew no extra ones. We ain't grew extra legs or nothing to advance the species. All we've done was adapt to our surroundings. I want this brother to break down what evolution truly is. Since I gave you the definition, I'm gonna put it back there and already put the first one back there. It's easy. Google search, Google Scholar.
Can
I'm
I go
done.
All
now?
right.
Can I go now?
Hold on, hold on.
I'll be
Somebody
next.
wants to interject, so they
I'll
get
be.
their minute.
I'll,
They get their minute. Go ahead.
thank you. So I think it's important to understand that evolution is not if Afi basically grows an extra eyeball, or I grow an extra leg, or I shapeshift and turn into a 6,000 pound car. That's not what evolution is. Evolution is simply Afi was 130 pounds 2 years ago. Now he's 200. That's evolution because in my genetics, I didn't adapt and make myself gain weight. I just
Oh my
gained weight
gosh.
based on genetics. And it happens gradually. It's just a measurement of understanding that you got adaptation. That's the ability to adapt when you're being hunted, or when you're trying to be adapted to
Right?
your climate. To your climate, evolution is the ruler or the measurement or the watcher of that adaptation, and then you have genetic mutation. Genetic mutation is when basically I can get vitiligo. That's a form of evolution. If I start spotting and I start losing my dark hue or my pigment, and then you have other forms of it. But evolution isn't, oh, this is evolution. Our feet should turn into this tree, and this tree should turn into this car. That's not evolution. That's pseudo. And I relinquish the floor.
Did anybody else want to
Okay.
comment?
Yeah, I want to.
These
Got
definitions,
a whole
though,
panel
you need
of
people to
going
post
around
them.
the panel.
Yeah. I'll post them in the
Post
back
it in the
chat.
back. Just
Any
don't
source.
Yeah,
I got you.
somebody else wanted to go. Who was that?
I just want to
Yeah, I want to
That's
go. I
what
want
I'm
to
saying.
go.
Google. Hold on. Let me Google. Everybody get a chance. I mean, everybody want to speak on it. So
Go ahead.
let me know when I get my chance, because he actually
Yeah, well,
addressed me.
all right, go ahead.
You me?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Everybody go.
Yeah, I
All
go
right,
after
so
him.
who's going? Me and someone else.
Go ahead, bro. I go after you.
All right. Did you call me Barbara? Yo, so yeah, I like the way you know what, Abdul has a very good point about adaptation, and that's a real that can be exhibited with the conversation on the island. What was it? The Galapagos Islands, where Darwin actually came up with his presumption of evolution. That was adaptation. So that was a great point. You know what I'm saying? Brother Alfie, I think you had a very good point too. What most people assume is that evolution is an upward change in creatures, but there are maladaptive things that happen too. There are some animals that come out with two heads, like friggin' snakes will come out with two heads here. That some kind of genetic mutation will happen and cause, a species to have maladaptive traits, like for instance white skin. You know what I mean? So I do agree with him on that. Brother Google Scholar, you usually have a pretty good argument, and y'all know I lean. I'm a biblical supporter of evolution, because even in the scriptures it says that we would all become new creatures and we would have glorified bodies. So what would that look like? Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave that alone. That'll be the Most High doing that.
Now, when I get a chance,
Right, that's what I think evolution is
going
going to.
Hold, Google. You were talking to me, so I got to be able to respond.
Okay, but hold on.
to what you
Y'all
said.
kicked it off, right? You two kicked it off. But I want maybe somebody else. Get back to you two. Natalia, do you want to say anything? Maybe she just listened. D-Red?
Yeah, I want to say something. I want to say something real quick.
Spoke up and then D-Red. Go ahead, sis.
I'm just saying I'm in the office. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so
Big up to you, sister.
yeah. All right, go ahead, D-Red.
Yeah, I mean, microevolution and macroevolution. I think the brother, I don't know the brother, but he kind of reversed the definitions in the beginning. And you do see microevolution in nature. You don't see macroevolution. You don't see incremental species. Darwin is on record as saying evolution will not work without an incremental species. So for any person to actually be trying to be a proponent, they would have to show the incremental species for these steps. And then any person that's talking about this, they would have to explain the Cambrian explosion, which all animal phylum was shown fully formed at the family level. So, I mean, they would have to be able to explain how you don't see that in nature. The fossil record don't agree with it. It's just a hypothesis. You know what I'm saying? That actually, it's just a hypothesis at this particular point. You see what I'm saying? It's theoretical. You know what I'm saying? I know people say scientific theory is a fact. It's not a fact. It just explains certain facts. You see what I'm saying? But so
Pretty much everything you say is wrong.
What?
I mean,
You couldn't wait to get that out, huh? You was
Hey,
asking a
Jeremiah,
question, Brother D.
That's
can I
cool. That's
raise my
cool. But
hand, then, brother?
when I start posting these books, I want to know which book have you read, Google Scholar. Not Google. I want to know which books have you read.
He ain't
All
read
right.
none of them. Google is his master.
All
Yeah,
right, hold on, dude. Keep it order. We don't want y'all to get going back and forth. All right, D-Ray, was you done? I think it was done. Okay, we got
Yeah, I'm done.
the commanding general. We got Yara. We got Yashua Israel, Gideon.
Oh
Anybody?
man.
We got Eggman Scientist. Anybody else want to speak before him and Apostle go back in?
yeah. I want to have and really get my brother Terry in on this with me real quick about this whole evolution thing. The evolution argument is dead. I don't even know why we still having this conversation, other than the people who are not studying.
True.
You're not your information. Your information is at least a decade outdated. Especially within the last 2 months. I don't even know why any person that calls themselves a scholar or a study of science even still holds to the theory of evolution. It's absolutely dead. It's been put to rest. And the simple fact that Terry and I, we've had this discussion already. They've recently mapped the human genome.
Yep.
Does anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Right. So that in itself destroys the entire argument for evolution.
What
Let
are
me
you
explain to you
talking
why.
about? What is this guy talking about?
Let
Could
me
you hold
explain to you
yourself,
why.
brother?
Let me explain to you why.
Hold yourself.
Let me explain to you why that is, right? The fact that they've mapped the entire human genome, they tell you now that there's no possible way that human beings evolved from an ape or an ape-like species. Now let's get into how we know that.
That's not true.
Hold on. Before you say that's not true, hold on. Let me finish.
That don't make it right because you say it's not
Hold
true.
on.
Who is that
Let
said
me.
that's not true?
That's Google
Yeah,
Scholar.
No,
He's
that,
going
that's, as a
that's
matter of
he
fact,
said
I don't want
someone.
to say that's not true. That's a lie.
Hold on. That's fine that you say that. Hold on. That's fine that you say that. So let's get into it. Do we know what a mutation looks like in the human genetics? Do we know what a human
Yes.
mutation is?
Yes.
Yes.
We do. Yes.
What is it?
What we say, a human mutation. We see them
Yes.
all the time. When I hate to say the word, this is the retarded babies, disfigured that came out born that way. That's a
Okay.
mutation. With a
Well,
hole in
actually,
his chest, and that's tough.
that's not a mutation. That's not what
That's
a
not a
scientific
mutation.
mutation. No, it's not. So let's talk about it, right?
Okay.
A genetic
White skin is a
mutation.
mutation. White skin is a mutation.
Absolutely, a genetic mutation, right? In the human, when you talk about the human genome, when you're comparing apes, right, or monkeys, or monkey-like species to modern-day human beings, right? They give you the code, right? They have a code for human genome, for the human genome. You see like letters like C, T, Y, A, right? Does anybody disagree with that when you're looking at it?
Nope.
No.
Okay, let me ask this question. How long does it take, according to the consensus of scholars and scientists, how long does it take for one of those letters in the human genome to change? And it's only can change to another one of those letters. It's not going to change to something else like a P or Q because it's not in the human genome. It's only going to change to one of those letters. How long does it take for one of those letters to change or mutate? Because that's what a genetic mutation is. When one of those letters change from one letter to another, how long does it take?
Hundreds of thousands of years, I guess. I don't know.
Hundreds of thousands of years? No.
Mm-mm.
Can I go
Not
No.
now?
even chance.
Can I go now?
Come
So
on, man. I
let
got
me
y'all can ask a question.
so since you can't hold on, so
Y'all can
since
ask
you
a
can't if you
question.
can't answer that question, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna put a pin in it because you're not qualified to have this conversation. Number two,
Simply.
number two, Does anyone disagree with the Big Bang Theory and how they calculate the age of the universe?
Let's not go there.
Listen, I'm
I
asking
agree
a
with none of
question.
that.
Let's not
I'm
go there. We're
asking
talking
a
about
question.
evolution.
No,
Evolution.
this has everything to do
Evolution.
with
You just
evolution.
don't answer. That's
Evolution.
how that
Listen,
works.
bro,
You
it
just
has
don't
everything
respond.
to do with
And those who
evolution.
I
qualified to respond, let
absolutely
them
can answer the
Listen,
respond, brother.
brother,
question.
it
I
has everything to do
absolutely.
with evolution, and I'm going to explain it to you. This is why I say you guys' information is outdated. Because if you go with the Big Bang Theory, unless you have another one that you agree with, right? Most
I
consensus of
subscribe to the Big
scholars,
Bang.
hold on, most of the consensus of scholars rely on the Big Bang Theory. How old do they say that the Earth is based on the Big Bang Theory or the universe?
4.5 billion years old.
How much?
4.5 billion years old.
4.5 billion years old, right? Four and
That's
a
what I
half.
said.
That's what you say?
Yes.
For the Earth, right?
Yes, for the
That's
solar
what science
system.
tells you.
For the what?
I said that's
Did
what
you say the
science
solar
tells you.
system?
It's
Did you say the
four.
solar system?
The solar system is 4.5 billion years old.
No, sir. So what reality do you live in? You're in one of the
You don't know
multiverses
what
in
the
the
hell he's
Marvel
talking about.
universe.
Just get to it because just the Google search can get you that information. So I don't know
Yeah, we're
what
talking about 65 billion years old, brother.
I'm in Google.
not,
Listen,
the
let me
universe.
read this.
The
Let me read
universe
this
is
real quick.
13.9 billion years old. So the
Can I
solar
read this real
system is
quick?
not older than the
And
universe.
that's making
Th- Who's this?
your theory of
Who's this?
evolution sound
Who's this
very
talking?
Watch
bad,
this.
brother.
Now
Who's
watch
this
this. Now
talking?
watch this.
Who's
Now watch
talking?
this. Let's bring it
Who's
home for him,
talking?
Terry.
No, I
Let's
just
bring it
want to know
home
who
for
I'm
him, Terry.
talking
That's
to.
making
Let's
your
bring it home for him, Terry.
Who I'm
Let's bring it
talking
home
to?
for him, Terry. Hold
Who I'm
on. Let's bring
talking
it
to?
home for him, Terry.
No, I
They
just want to
tell
know your
you
name. I just want
He
to know
said
your
his
name.
it's
name was
Yara.
Terry.
Hold on, it's Yara. Watch
Comprehensive
this.
skills.
Hold on, y'all.
Science,
We just went live. Just let y'all know. So
consensus of scholars tell you right now that for just one of those letters to
hey, we
mutate
just
in the
went
human
live, y'all.
genome,
Let y'all know we live. All right.
Yeah,
that one of
yeah,
those
this is
letters.
crazy. What? I
Listen,
just want to
listen,
know who
listen,
I'm talking to.
listen. It don't matter who you're talking to. Listen,
I want to know
just
who I'm
listen.
talking to.
Just
Is that?
listen right now. Just
I don't want
listen.
to listen. I want to know
That's
your
the only
name.
skill you
You
need
worried
right
about his
now.
name and not the information? Is
The
that what you're
only
doing? You
skill
worried
you
about his
need
name
right
and not
now
the
is to
info?
listen. That's the only skill you need, sir.
I
So
do.
consensus of scholars, and where's the Google scholar at? Where's the Google scholar at?
All
Where's
right.
the Google scholar?
Yes, Dennis. Dennis.
Okay, Google scholar. Google is telling us how long does it take for one of those letters in the human genome to mutate. I guarantee you'll never be able to line it up. Well, how long it takes for one of those letters in the human genome to mutate, you'll never get to the point where you say evolution exists. Because you know why? The time that it will take for a genetic mutation to occur from a man coming from an ape to a modern day human being is older than the existence of the earth itself.
Can I speak now? Because this brother went for like
You're
10 minutes.
you're almost talking about 100. It would take 130
JJ,
billion
JJ,
years.
Yeah.
JJ.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And then
JJ, I need to respond to
go ahead.
This brother went for like 10 minutes. I didn't even get a
He didn't
chance.
go that long, but go ahead, man. You can get
Hold up, man.
Don't nobody
You was
interrupt.
addressing
Man,
me.
this is crazy. This is crazy.
Go ahead,
I
man.
need to be able to respond to you, Google.
Yeah.
Everybody's responding to me. Only I can't say nothing. I say something, I get.
Hey, I want to let him go. Let him go. Let him go because he's dead.
You come back in because I think who started it off?
Yeah. This brother came on here talking a bunch.
Hey, look, I got some powerful information in the back. All I gotta do is just push share screen, and evolution is debunked, brother.
Right, the brother, I think it was brother D Red. He was being absolutely honest. All it took was a little Google scholar searching, and you found it. I posted it in the back chat.
Man,
Can I
man.
read this
Right.
right?
You're right. You're right. Anybody can be
Let
right
me
as long
read
as they
this real
alone get
quick.
to talk. I don't want to hear you read nothing. It's my turn.
Oh,
It's
you don't
my
want to
turn.
hear.
Hey,
It's my turn.
hey, y'all chill out. Let the Jamaican go or wherever he's from. Let him go so he can shut up.
This is
Go ahead,
crazy.
Google.
Y'all coming here talking all this junk.
Hey, bro, we
With
just want to
no
hear the
Hey, man,
evidence.
information,
evidence,
bro.
Kick the
brother.
information, bro. Kick the
It's
information.
evidence.
Other people want to talk.
Information. Don't add
It's a
homonyms like
selfish
you trying to
sidebar
do.
argument, bro.
It's just
Just
other
folks, get
people
your
want to talk.
information
We ain't
first.
got time to listen to the bullshit. It's too many people
All
on
right,
this
man.
panel.
Y'all have it. Y'all have it. Y'all
Go,
win. Y'all
Good,
right.
we won.
Take the
come
Google
on,
taking
We
y'all.
put a
the
nail
L.
in it.
Go ahead, Google.
Google taking the L. Is that what you saying, Google?
Yeah, I'm taking the L because
Uh,
if I can speak. So if I can't speak. I can't say a
Come on,
word.
man.
If I start talking, I get muted. But
Here.
y'all can say anything you
Good,
want.
I got you. Just chill out. Come on, y'all. Let's have some respect. People watching, man. For real. This is how we treat our guests? No, we ain't doing that. Go ahead,
I
Google.
got 1 minute. The brother came in here, got like 10 minutes, talking a lot of nonsense. Right?
Get 2 minutes in. Go ahead. Let's hear.
All right. The first thing he came on and said that the human genome proves evolution wrong. This is a lie. This is just a lie. The Human Genome Project was headed by Francis Collins. Francis Collins is a Christian that supports evolution, that believes in evolution, that testified against creationism at the Scripps Monkey trial. So the fact that he came in here and said the Human Genome Project proves evolution wrong, that's a lie. We got sources upon sources that evolution is a fact, right? We got sources and sources that the theory of evolution by natural selection is the only explanation for the diversity of life on the planet. I got sources. Now I'm going to put in the genome because I know this brother Abdul, he went and he got a dictionary definition, and I'm not dealing with dictionary. I'm dealing with biology and sources, right? So my first source, I'm going to put again in there. This is going to tell you what evolution is.
Can you
Hey,
share
we got
it?
a share screen in here. We can share it, and you can share it in here so we can see it.
I put it in the back chat.
All right, let me
So
see what he's talking about.
let's go and read it. It's in there. That's
All
the
right.
Can we
first
share?
one.
I got some information. I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to know: does this share screen work where I can share my information right here?
yeah, you gotta share you gotta have your camera on first to share your screen.
You gotta have your camera on.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Google.
All right.
Yeah, I can't.
This is the second link I'm
I'm
putting.
posting the link in the back chat, brothers and sisters, too.
Okay, yeah, he got it. All right, yeah, come on, y'all, let him go.
The second link I just put. The second link I just put. This one is gonna be what the examples of evolution in modern times, right? And I notice the brother is trying to spam as soon as I'm putting my link, but that don't matter.
Okay, I just took a picture. I don't know how to put in the back link, but
the third link I'm putting is the difference between macro and micro evolution. All right,
I'm doing that now.
Because I know this apostle when he came in tried to say that we don't have macro evolution, but
you can't experience it. It takes too long.
No, we absolutely.
I posted what you said, Apostle.
Bro,
everything that you said is back there. If anyone cares to look,
bro.
Hey, dude, you keep interrupting them, man.
I'm looking.
Come on, man. It's time so the next person can go, but if you keep interrupting them, it's going to prolong, the process.
The third one I put is the difference between macro.
Go ahead.
Between macro and micro evolution. All right. Now, all those are these two articles I put are scientific articles. These are from reputable scientific journals. This is not some guy off the street or some creationist over here, or I search Google for a definition and say this is the definition. If you're going to come to me and say that the mutation in a human gene takes over 65 billion years, that is just false, and you're peddling misinformation. All right, we know that a mutation in a human genome, it happens. Every zygote has a number of mutations when it is first born. And it happens like 3 or 4 times during the human lifetime. This is not controversial. We have what we call a mitochondrial, I forgot what the name is, because it's not really my field. But the brother came and say, well, because we have the human genome map, this debunked evolution. This is actually backwards. We use genetics to confirm evolution. All right? We know that what happened is that when evolution was first put forth by Charles Darwin, we didn't have the fossil record yet. The fossil record came and confirmed evolution. Then we have creationists like you guys coming in and saying, no, the fossil record is bunk. Then we have the genetics coming, and we know, just as the fossil record says that we are close, the closest relative to us is the chimps. The genome came in and confirmed that this is the case. And if this is not the case, this is what I want the brother to do. I want the brother to explain to me chromosome number 2 in the human and chimp genome. When you get the chance, I need you to explain that, because you say you do this to read.
I can explain it for you right now.
No, you can explain it.
It's a part we can't skip over, Apostle. Go ahead, Apostle.
All right. I just Googled.
And I got one more thing for the brother Abdul.
Quiet, man. I said,
come on, man. You get more, bro. You
see, he keep calling my name, JJ 7000.
You go at the Apostle, man.
You go when it's your turn. You go when it's your turn. Let me finish.
What? It is my turn now. You are done.
No,
I have one.
Come on, man.
Oh my God.
It's Apostle.
Hey, what turn do I get? And I'm counting. That's all I want to know.
Listen, everybody has spoken except for me.
After a duel,
and they replied to his original question yet.
Come on, bro.
All right.
Listen.
All
right. It's Apostle's turn. Then a duel can jump in and respond, and then Yasha can blend in with the rotation.
Okay. This dude's name is Google. Okay, so this is Google. I Googled it. What is the main difference between microevolution and macroevolution? Microevolution is small genetic changes within a specific population or group within a population occurring within a short span of time, like one generation.
You better teach.
Macro. Now, macro is big changes, large changes. One species becoming another species. Changes across species. Over a long span of time.
Bring it up.
So therefore, we don't live long enough to experience microevolution. Which within 100 years. It takes macroevolution thousands of years. If a human being was once a monkey, that took thousands of years.
Bring it up.
To witness that. So you cannot witness, eyewitness, or prove macroevolution exists. We don't live long enough to prove it. Period. And anybody saying anything different is lying. Period. You're lying.
You're lying.
It says changes.
We can't hear you really, Apostle.
Hey, let me slide in after Elder Yara, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I want to have an intelligent conversation with somebody.
Listen, brother. Everybody get a chance to speak. So when it's your turn, you can have an intelligent conversation with everyone.
Judah, what did you say?
So I'll say now we hear you. Go ahead, Apostle.
Okay. Like I say, I just want to read it again real quick. Microevolution is small genetic changes within a species, population, or group within a population, occurring within a short time span. Like one generation. That's the span. A generation. A human generation is 42 years. Macro evolution is big changes across species. One species becoming another over a long span of time. In other words, one generation of a human being is 42 years. We barely live to be 100. We don't live long enough to experience macro evolution. Nobody can observe it because we don't live long enough. It takes thousands of years if we develop from monkeys. That didn't happen in a short time.
Millions.
So this is macro evolution. Therefore, it's unobservable. We don't live long enough. And if anybody say you can observe macro evolution, they're lying, period. It doesn't happen. And that's what I told Unc last night and shut his ass up. Because about micro evolution, and we all admit that that exists. That doesn't switch from one species to another. That's the same species, just adapting, like a chameleon. Whatever color it lands on, it changes to that color.
And it didn't evolve into that color.
Right. And then it changed to the next color. It'll change to the next color. A lizard, you cut its tail off, it'll grow back. Okay? But it always is a lizard. Those lizards that change through microevolution, they remain lizards. They just adapted to their surroundings, like lizards do. That's what they do. Man was a vegetarian. He adapted to eating meat. His diet changed. That's called adaptation.
That's a fact.
Okay? So if a lizard used to eat bugs and the bugs ran out, and then they started eating grass, that's not evolution. That's survival of the fittest, which is no more than adaptation. They're doing what they have to do to survive. That's all. So Google, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
All right, it's Abdul's turn, Google.
From no namesake, from Google.
Go ahead. Who was next? Abdul. Go ahead, Abdul.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch back down just for a second.
Yasha, then Yara, then General Yashar.
Hey, Yashar can take my place because I spoke already, so Yashar can get in after Yasha.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it all the way back full circle to this butterfly he claims that evolved. Now, if that moth, and I read the article, if that moth had grew and turned into a dragonfly or even a butterfly, I could agree that that was evolution. But that moth stayed a moth with the same legs, the same wings, the same antennas. It just changed colors. So what it did was adapt to its new surroundings so it wouldn't be the next meal. So I don't know how you equate adaptation to evolution. And I went ahead and posted the article links to peer-reviewed sources in the back chat for anyone to see about that. But the brother, the other brother that was just speaking, he spoke it so great that it would take so long for us to see macro evolution, we wouldn't even be here. We don't even live that long. So that's why I'm saying, where did we see? What animal have we written down and we seen evolve over the past, say, 20,000 years, say 6,000 years? What animal? Did pigs grow wings? You know what I'm saying? I mean, for real, I want to see these evolution, not just adaptation. And don't tell me that a caterpillar evolved into a butterfly or a moth when that was part of its genetic makeup. It was created to morph into something other. That's not evolution. That's part of its makeup, how it was created. You know what I'm
Or
saying?
from a caterpillar to a big ass snake, since you said it could change
Right.
into something in the same
Right. Now that would be
species or
evolution.
A
similarity.
maggot into a fly.
Right.
That's
Now
evolution.
those would be evolutions. Not even the so-called flying fish is evolution because its fins are just longer. So it
Right.
swims and jumps out the water and catches air
Right.
and goes back into the
It's
water.
jumping out
Aerodynamics,
of the
The flying
water.
fish,
aerodynamics, not
right,
evolution.
right. That flying fish didn't turn into a bird. You feel what I'm saying? It didn't jump out the water and just keep on flying. It went right back in because guess what? It was a fish to start out with, and it's still a fish. And I end on that note.
Right.
Well said.
I got a small video that I would like to play in the share screen, and I mean, I consider that the average person talk an average of about 10 minutes with the rebuttals going back and forth. It goes as long as 20 minutes. You know, I got a very, very a video that I think that the majority on people on this panel, if they saw it, they would highly, highly appreciate this video. Okay, if someone can instruct me how to play this video on the share screen, what do I need to do?
Turn your camera on first
Now, you mean like
so we can
you
see
mean
you.
like okay,
You got that has to be on, and then you see where it has the camera right there. It'll go and say you watch. You go all the way down. It'll say post to Instagram post, and right up under there it'll say share screen. You hit that share screen button.
okay. What I have is a share. Okay, I got the share screen and say start sharing.
Start sharing, and it'll start sharing your screen. So anything that pops up on your screen, pictures, anything, we're gonna be able to see.
All right. Okay. It ain't nothing coming up. The video ain't coming up.
Start coming. So send it to the group, and
It's in the
I can
back
share
chat.
my screen and play it. It's in
Yeah,
the
it's in the
back
back
chat.
chat. Yeah.
The last one you just posted.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me share my screen. Y'all see me? Yeah. Share the screen. Share screen. Start
You would
broadcast.
appreciate this, Abdul, because it talk a lot about what you saying. It's more it better articulated to where it's go. Ain't nobody who on the other side of this gonna be able to refute this information, man.
Right.
And I encourage everyone in here, including me, to learn this shit inside out. Because if we bodying these boys with what we got right now, this here is going to better articulate us. You understand what I'm saying? After today, in the lion's den, the theory of evolution, dude, is destroyed, brother.
Can y'all see it?
This video will encourage you to go back and to learn it.
Yeah,
And
I can't
I
hear it, but I
guarantee
can
you, when
see
you
it.
learn it, it's over.
I can't do anything about the volume, but
Yeah, that's what we need, the volume. Maybe can we hear?
I'm trying to blow it up if I can.
Knowledge that the actual
Can y'all hear
genetic
now?
differences are far
Yeah,
greater
we can
than
hear
we've
it.
been told. For example, primate evolutionist Todd Prius states, "It is now clear that the genetic differences between humans and chimpanzees are far more extensive than previously thought. Their genomes are not 98% or 99% identical." Earlier studies published in the evolutionary scientific literature reported an overall DNA similarity of 98 to 99%. However, large portions of the chimp genome did not align with the human genome, and so were excluded from the reported estimates.
Y'all
For
mute y'all mic.
instance, the algorithm parameters used in the major milestone publication in Nature reported by the Chimpanzee Sequencing and Analysis Consortium omitted over 100 million DNA letters. When accounting for these large non-alignable regions and other omitted sequence data, the actual chimp-human DNA similarity is significantly lower than the 98 to 99% identity claims.
when they originally started to ask that question, they didn't have full genomic data. And so they're actually based their estimates of similarity based upon just little snippets of the genome. And they were choosing protein coding sequences, which are the most similar, which that explain why we have similar biochemistry. So initially we're saying, 98, 99% of the genomes must be similar between chimp and human. The textbooks still say that, but basically geneticists know that's not correct.
What is the actual genetic difference between humans and chimpanzees? This is a question that comes up over and over again in this creation evolution debate. And if it is true we're 98 to 99% genetically identical to the closest evolutionary relatives, evolutionists say, it feels like they're just kissing cousins.
You got to do
let's dig down to what the scientific data actually say.
You got to say that. Can
if
you
look
pause
at the
that
2005 chimpanzee genome paper in Nature?
It's paused.
Yeah, somebody, you got to say like fair act uses, just for educational purposes only, some stuff like that. I don't have it in front of me, but I guess as
You
long
just
as
said it.
that's all
You
I got to
sure
say.
did.
Okay, all right.
That's all you got to say.
Let me know. Y'all ready?
Yep.
You look at subsequent papers, the bonobo paper, the gorilla.
To get
Somebody
1%
mute your
of the
mic.
genome different requires 30 million mutations. That's a lot of new information. And when we talked about the waiting time, we were saying, well, 8 mutations, waiting for 8 specific mutations takes more time than the time since the Big Bang. So no, it's not conceivable. You cannot change the program of an ape into the program.
8 mutations take longer than the damn Big Bang Theory. Just 8. And he said there's millions of differences.
Millions.
And he also just said there's no way that could happen.
Older than the beginning of the universe.
This
Right.
is a
So Mr. Google
geneticist.
Scholar.
Ain't nobody back here no goddamn geneticist. Roll the tape, man.
Ask, well, what's the problem? You're saying there's 100 new mutations per person per generation in a big population. That's billions of mutations every generation. What's the problem with getting the information that codes for something? Well, the difference is that genetic damage is non-specific. So deleterious mutations can happen in anywhere in the genome. There's no specificity. So creating damage is easy, but in the case of a manuscript or a genetic program or a computer program, it's easy to break them by changing letters. It's really hard to improve them. And you have to wait a really long time for the specific letter to mutate into the specific alternative letter at a specific site to actually create any type of benefit. So waiting time for beneficials is different from waiting time for neutrals. You don't have to wait long for a neutral or for a deleterious. You have to wait a really, really long time if you're waiting for a specific and beneficial one.
Waiting for the right mutations to arise and become established in a pre-human population greatly exceeds evolutionary timescales. Leading evolutionary geneticists acknowledge it is a serious problem for the theory, devastating for the ape-to-man scenario. Population geneticist Michael Lynch confesses in the Journal of Molecular Biology and Evolution. A central problem in the evolutionary theory concerns the mechanisms by which adaptations requiring multiple mutations emerge in natural populations. Lynch's calculations suggest the length of time required for just 2 specific mutations to become established in a pre-human population is over 200 million years, well beyond the 6 million year time span during which an ape-like creature is said to have evolved into man. Other studies reporting in scientific literature show similar results. Evolutionary
200 million
geneticists
years.
Durrett and Schmidt of Cornell University report in the Annals of Applied
Are we going to
Probability
play
that the
the
average
entire
waiting
video?
time to form a slightly longer DNA sequence of 8 specific mutations is on the order of 650 million years.
Yes, because I'm not going to speak no
But
more
this
throughout the
estimate
show.
is incomplete.
The video is
When accounting for
39
random
minutes.
loss due to
I'm
a
supposed to listen
well-established
to a
principle known as
39-minute
genetic
video.
drift, the
This is
actual waiting
information.
time
Are you hating
should be
the information?
100-fold longer, roughly 65 billion years. This is 4 times longer than the reputed age of the universe, assuming a Big Bang singularity 13.7 billion years ago. At best, all evolution can hope to accomplish in the prescribed 6 million year time span is the formation of a tiny DNA sequence, no more than a few genetic letters in length, totally incapable of producing a single new gene. Modern genetics has demonstrated that it is impossible for humans to have evolved from a chimp-like ancestor via random mutations. It is an unbridgeable genetic gap for evolution to traverse, even given billions of years.
If humans did not evolve from ape-like creatures, then where did we come from? The Genesis account of creation states that God made Adam and Eve, not as mythical beings, but as the literal historical ancestors of all living people. They were the first 2 human beings created, with all humans descending from this first couple. From a purely genetic standpoint, is it
Watch this, Bible
scientifically
hater.
feasible that all humans descended from a single mother and a single father? Many insist this is absurd, and yet the genetic evidence for a literal Adam and Eve is inside each one of us. It's found in our DNA.
In 1987, a milestone paper was published in the journal Nature by leading evolutionary geneticists who announced the results of a mitochondrial DNA analysis. Geneticists from the University of California found that all humans are descended from one woman thought to have lived in Africa 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. Their results sent shockwaves throughout the scientific community and called for a major rewrite of the evolutionary view of human origins to accommodate the new data. The revision gave rise to the now widely accepted out-of-Africa theory. Proponents of the theory couldn't help but notice its uncanny resemblance to the biblical Eve. In acknowledgement of this, they gave the genetic mother of us all the name mitochondrial Eve. According to the evolutionary perspective, mitochondrial Eve was an unnamed woman who evolved out of Africa from a Homo erectus population of apemen. Not long after the first mitochondrial DNA studies revealed a single mother of us all, evolutionary geneticists found similar results when analyzing sequences on the male Y chromosome. In 1997, a team of researchers from Stanford University reported to the American Society of Human Genetics that all men inherited their Y chromosome from a single male ancestor. The sequencing of thousands of Y chromosomes from diverse people groups living around the world has revealed an overall lack of Y chromosome diversity. All men share the same Y chromosome, plus a small number of mutations consistent with a single male ancestor of the human race. Once again, evolutionary geneticists couldn't help but give the father of us all a biblical name, Y chromosome Adam. Just as they did with mitochondrial Eve, evolutionists interpret Y chromosome Adam to be an evolved ape-man from Africa that lived sometime around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago.
The evolutionary community acknowledges that there is a literal Y chromosome Adam and there is a literal mitochondrial Eve.
Can we pause the video a
It's clear
little bit?
that all of the Y chromosomes on this planet trace back to a single.
Yeah. Now, I understand that you believe what's in this video, but we have to be a little bit fair here.
Wait.
No, let's hear
Are
what
we
I'm
doing
saying.
the
30
breakdown
seconds.
of the video before it's over?
No, just 30 seconds. Hear what I'm saying. I'm not talking about that.
Bro, you're trying to look.
I put this in here for you. And
No,
when I'm
listen to
done,
what I'm saying.
hold up. When the
What
video
I'm saying is,
done,
all of
you can
I'm
have
the
an
only
hour.
person on here defending evolution.
Right,
All of you are against.
So you will
But
have
my
all the
point
time
is,
that you need. What you should be doing is
I
taking
got
notes
2 minutes. I
and
got 2 minutes and
debunking
to play a
everything that
40
this man
minutes
says
video.
because you're going to have
JJ,
to. That's why I put it in here. I put this in
JJ,
here so you can do what you're doing
JJ,
now at
JJ,
the end of the
I
video,
got
but
2
not
minutes.
with
This
one
brother is
point,
playing a
but with
40-minute
all of
video.
the points, bro.
This is crazy. 2 minutes and he's
Look,
playing
brother,
a 40-minute
This is
video.
not crazy. This is not crazy.
Why are
This is
you
not
rejecting
crazy.
the information though? Like you ain't even finished it. They speak about people like you. You haven't even finished listening to the information before you
I'm gonna
refute
go.
it. What do they call you?
Well,
Can
that's
we
what
please
this
finish
video
listening to
was
the
here for.
information,
It was to
Google
make people
Scholar?
like you go and stop teaching these lies.
All right,
Or we could
ready
just
to
stop the
go,
video
Terry?
right here and let you debunk what my man just said so far.
Gotcha. I got it. Google Scholar. I see you sit on Garfield platform and he'll play a goddamn video for a whole hour and then everybody come and speak. Why is it a problem today for you? Act like you're over on Garfield platform, sit down, take notes, and then you come back with your questions after it's over, bro. We enjoying the video. This is what we do, bro. You don't come in here and change nothing. You either want to participate or you got to escape. Hit the door. That's all we saying, bro. Go ahead, start the video back up.
Individual who didn't live so long ago. The Y chromosome is only passed on through the male, right? Father to son. Well, the mitochondrial chromosome is only transmitted through the female. And that chromosome also, all the geneticists agree, all people on the planet get their mitochondria from a woman who lived not so long ago, and it's uncontested. And it turns out initially the evolutionists said, yeah, but it looks from our estimates of how long ago those individuals lived, that they didn't live in the same time span. Now actually that they've reworked their numbers, they're always reassessing the time scales. They're Adam and Eve, the mitochondrial Eve and the Y chromosome Adam, they are in the same time span.
There are two fundamental differences between the Adam and Eve of the Bible and the evolutionary interpretation of mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Adam. The first difference has to do with time, and the second has to do with population size. The Genesis account indicates Adam and Eve lived recently, just thousands of years ago, and that they were the only two people alive at the time of their creation. The evolutionary model claims they lived around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago and belonged to a hominin population of 10,000 individuals. But as you will see, it's not the genetic data that conflicts with the biblical account of Adam and Eve. The conflict comes from inferences about time and population size.
Evolutionary geneticists estimate that genetic Adam and Eve lived around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago using a method known as the molecular clock. The technique relies on the assumption that mutations accumulate in certain regions of the genome at a constant rate over deep time. Evolutionary scientists have to further assume that humans evolved from a chimp-like ancestor roughly 6 million years ago in order to calibrate the molecular clock. Both claims are problematic and have been called into question by the genetics community. Distinguished evolutionary geneticist David Reich of Harvard confesses in the publication Nature, the fact that the clock is so uncertain is very problematic for us. It means that the dates we get out of genetics are really quite embarrassingly bad and uncertain. Scientists are now using a more straightforward approach to determine mutation rates that do not require ape-to-man evolutionary assumptions. It involves directly measuring mutation rates in the present, comparing parents and offspring, known as the pedigree method. When comparing DNA sequences between parents and children, the measured mutation rates are typically 10 to 20 times higher than those inferred based on assumptions of ape-to-man evolution. When the molecular clock is calibrated using the empirically measured mutation rates, both mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Adam lived just thousands of years ago. In discussing the age of mitochondrial Eve, evolutionary scientists in Trends in Genetics acknowledge this discrepancy. mtDNA datasets often exhibit anomalous patterns. One of these anomalies is the discrepancy between mtDNA mutation rates observed in evolutionary timescales, for example, in dating the divergence between two species, and those measured within family pedigrees. If the high mutation rates seen in some human pedigrees were used to calculate the age of our most recent female common ancestor, she would have lived just 6,000 years ago, a date more consistent with biblical Eve than mitochondrial Eve.
There's a long-standing debate and argument in genetics, and that deals with the difference between what's called a
consistent with biblical Eve than mitochondrial Eve.
There's a long-standing debate and argument in genetics, and that deals with the difference between what's called the phylogenetic mutation rate and the genealogical mutation rate. If you look at a family, you can count the differences between the people and you say, oh, they've had some mutations. And you can actually calculate the mutation rate over time in today's time, in known time. Right now, we know what the mutation rate is. But the evolutionary community doesn't like to use that rate because it's too fast. They use what's called the phylogenetic mutation rate. That is, they look at the difference between humans and chimpanzees, not the real rate, but the differences, and they say, oh, we've been separated for so many millions of years. And when I was an undergraduate, that difference was 3 million years. Now it's 6 million years, 6.5 million years. Some people are arguing for 13 million years. Because mathematically, they're having a hard time dealing with this. Take the differences between humans and chimpanzees in some gene, like mitochondria, Y chromosome, or something like that. Divide it by the time that separates us, 6 million years. You get a very slow mutation rate. But if you look at the people alive today, count up the number of differences between them, and divide by the time since their ancestor, maybe their great-great-grandfather or something like that, and you're going to get a mutation rate much faster. When we use that rate, Adam and Eve fall into the biblical time frame. So when we use today's science, measurable science, laboratory stuff we know is true, Adam and Eve are biblical.
While the actual genetic data reveals a single mitochondrial Eve ancestor and a single Y chromosome ancestor, evolutionists have insisted they must have lived in a larger population. For this reason, they caution the general public not to mistake the evolutionary Adam and Eve with Adam and Eve of the Bible. Yet they acknowledge there can be no direct evidence for the larger population size of 10,000 because all other mitochondrial and Y chromosome lineages supposedly died off, removing all traces of their existence, leaving, as paleo expert Chris Stringer has said, just one lucky mother and one lucky father. In an attempt to explain what would otherwise be another remarkable biblical coincidence, proponents of the ape-to-man model invoke what is known as coalescent theory. This theory assumes that over many generations, it is inevitable that eventually only a single mitochondrial and Y chromosome lineage will remain.
Coalescence theory is based upon the assumption of random mating. So you need a single population and all the people have equal likelihood of intermarriage. That's never been the case. From an evolutionary point of view, humans and pre-humans have always been in tribes that are separated. So there's not random mating. In fact, if you look at the charts that show coalescence, all you have to do is say, okay, that's one subpopulation, but there's dozens or hundreds of other subpopulations, and those would be producing a different coalescence to a different Adam or a different Eve. Basically, the coalescence argument fails. So their rebuttal position is not scientifically valid, and it's relatively reckless.
Evolutionary scientists reasoned that if humanity started with just 2 people, it could not explain the total amount of human diversity we see today. For this reason, a population of 10,000 became a central tenet of the current model.
It's typically assumed that Adam and Eve would have had no genetic variance, no genetic diversity. However, there's no reason to assume they were created as nearly identical clones. If Adam and Eve were created with built-in diversity for traits such as skin color, all of the different-looking people groups could easily arise in a biblical time frame. There would be no reason to wait millions of years for the slow accumulation of mutations if the diversity was encoded in their genomes right from the beginning.
If Adam and Eve were heterozygous, as we would reasonably expect, extensive genetic diversity would quickly arise simply through sexual reproduction, which reshuffles pre-existing variation to produce different combinations of traits.
This idea that God creates an initial pair with differences between them and within them. We'll call that term, the technical term is heterozygosity. So this is an idea that has massive consequences in our genetics, virtually all of our genetic discussions. It also provides a convenient explanation, a very plausible explanation for how you get all the ethno-linguistic differences that we see today. Humans are considered one species, and we can produce variety in a single generation. So if a dark-skinned Sudanese person marries a light-skinned Finnish individual, their children will be an intermediate skin tone and have features from both parents. And if you had a Australian Aborigine who marries a Han Chinese, and they had children, and so then the offspring of these 2 mixed marriages had children, they could produce a whole diversity of individuals. Why is that? Because people today still have heterozygosity. They have less heterozygosity than what I'm saying Adam and Eve had. In other words, Adam and Eve could have produced in their many children every version of human that we see today. Once you have an original pair, original population, an original set of 8 if we're talking about the flood, that has heterozygosity, you can explain people groups just like that.
A striking example of built-in genetic variation can be seen in the example of twins born from mid-brown parents. Mother Kylie Hodgson and father Remy Horder gave birth to twins Remy and Keon, who appeared racially different. The 2-tone fraternal twins shared the same womb and were born a minute apart. What most people would typically see as racial differences arose in a single generation due to gene segregation. Just like people living today, one can reasonably expect Adam and Eve to have had a large pool of genetic variation built in to their genomes. Prior to modern genetics, evolutionary scientists claimed that there were fundamentally different races of humans that evolved in diverse parts of the world over a long period of time. This model was known as the multi-regional hypothesis. This perception changed with the advent of DNA sequencing, which revealed that all human beings are remarkably similar genetically. It is now well established among the scientific community that all people, regardless of their skin color or ethnicity, are 99.9% genetically identical. The so-called racial features that we tend to focus on are essentially only skin deep, reflecting trivial differences in our genetic material. Physical traits like eye shape and melanin production amount to a minuscule 0.012% difference in our DNA. This means that regardless of our cultural differences, genetically, we are all part of one big human family.
If you have designed organisms, created organisms, they would be designed and created so they have internal diversity. You don't have to wait for mutations. So the waiting time goes away. If you want adaptation without deep waiting time, then just design the organism with variants in it. Even a
Human
single
genetics is
organism
so
has
close.
heterozygosity, and so there's
We
lots of
closer to
genetic
the
diversity,
Israelites
even
than
if a
we is the
single
damn
organism.
monkeys. They'd
Two
rather be a goddamn monkey than an Israelite.
individuals have 4 chromosome sets, and they have the ability to basically accommodate every possible variant. So 2 people is enough to allow for vast amount of genetic diversity that could be used by natural selection, be used for adaptation to new environments, and you don't need deep time to do that.
The findings from modern genetics have compelled evolutionary scientists to develop a revised story of human origins that shares many striking similarities with the biblical account of the Tower of Babel dispersion. The new model is called the Out of Africa theory and has been popular for many years. This theory proposes there was a near-extinction event causing a population bottleneck that reduced humanity to a single breeding population of just a few thousand survivors.
In the Out of Africa theory, which is now on the rocks, but in the Out of Africa theory, they postulated there was a human population of about 10,000 people for an indeterminate amount of time. They never really say how long it is, but let's say 10,000, 100,000 years. If we compare a modern species that has about that many individuals, you can look at the African cheetah. There's about 10,000 of them in the wild, give or take a few thousand, and they're having massive problems. Birth defects are increasing, reproductive incompatibility in couples is increasing, litter size is decreasing. All the population biologists are essentially assuming cheetahs are going to go extinct. How did Homo sapiens evolve? We suppose it went from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens. You know, Homo erectus is smashing rocks together, and Homo sapiens that can fly to the moon during a population bottleneck that should have driven us to extinction.
This theoretical near-extinction event has been used to explain why all humans are nearly identical genetically. The Out of Africa theory claims all living humans originated from this small population who lived in the general vicinity of northeast Africa. Alternative studies suggest the small founding population was a little further north, in the general vicinity of the Middle East. The survivors of this theoretical near-extinction event suddenly grew very rapidly, splitting into numerous smaller tribes which dispersed outward and gradually filled Europe, Africa, Asia, and eventually the Americas. Each initial tribe gave rise to its own language and culture, and continued to split and disperse to form the people groups and languages we see today. Each migrating tribe would have carried with it a different sampling of the original population's gene pool, rapidly producing the distinctive features that some used to define race. In this model, mutations would occur, but are not necessary to explain these distinctive features, which means deep time would not be required either.
You know, just using standard population genetics principles, we can explain the origin of races easily in hundreds or thousands of years. All we need is the population to fragment into smaller populations. Isolation by distance is going to cause changes over time independently in each population, either through natural selection or just random drift. So we have a model for that at the Tower of Babel. A few hundred years after the flood, God separated the nations according to Y chromosome. It's the male lineages that define each population, and they spread out on the earth. And they would have remained separate from one another because of language differences for a time. That's all we need. Once you do that, you're going to have regional differences amongst the people. So all of a sudden we have people start looking more Asian, people that start looking more Norwegian, people that start looking more Australian Aboriginal, and people that start looking more African. All we need is isolation in a short amount of time.
Evolutionary geneticists reporting in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences have named this specific model the instantaneous divergence model. This model is virtually indistinguishable from the biblical model of the human dispersion associated with the Tower of Babel, as recorded in Genesis chapter 11. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth.
One of the funny things about the out of Africa theory is that it actually mirrors the biblical account. We have a population of people that originated in Africa sometimes in a distant past. Well, biblically, we started with 2 people. Our population grew to thousands of people, we don't know how many. And then our population crashed, biblically, at the flood. Well, in the out of Africa theory, we had a lot of people and it crashed during a bottleneck. And then the population began to grow in both models, and then the population fragmented and spread across the world in both models. The Bible was written first, and we're stuck with it. There's a limited range of possibilities biblically about human history. Back in the day, though, evolutionary theory, they could say whatever they wanted, and the most common view back in the day was a multi-regional hypothesis, that human beings just evolved in synchrony across the planet and exchanged genes as we evolved and evolved and evolved. They did not expect a bottleneck. They did not expect going through the Middle East. They did not expect a Y chromosome atom and a mitochondrial leaf. Those are things that have to be true if the Bible is true. And those are things that the modern geneticists have discovered. So what we're seeing over time is that the evolutionary model is getting more biblical, which is really interesting.
All right, I thank
All
you.
right.
I thank you, Abdul. I thank you. I thank you. I just want to say this, man. That we have seen that the human, a white man is closer to a black man than he is a monkey. All right.
Terry, what's the name of that case,
African is closer to an Israelite than he is a goddamn monkey. And you niggas rather be a goddamn monkey than to love God. Y'all rather love white supremacy and be motherfucking monkeys than to be God's chosen people on this goddamn planet. That's a goddamn shame. I'd rather be a mythological Israelite than to be a shit-eating monkey any day.
Terry,
Hey, that
what's
ape
the
said
name of that
somewhere else.
video, man? What's the name of that video?
Goddamn motherfucker for real.
It's in the back
name of
chat,
the
y'all.
video,
It's in the
Terry?
it's in the back chat in the video. But I just want to know what happened to Google Scholar. Did the information make him that mad to where he got off and didn't finish it?
Hey, let them apes, man.
So
They
what
need to
y'all
go
gonna
marry
say
them
to
motherfuckers.
him? I just got one question, y'all. What y'all gonna say when he comes back and he tries to, say his little spew on how he's gonna prove evolution?
All you got to do is learn that argument. Once you learn that argument, the world is over, son.
All right, no, that video right there just murdered him.
Can y'all hear me?
Like for real.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the article, God damn it. The article is called The Deconstruction Evolution Education. So this is they published this shit. So they trying to implement this into high school and what you call beginning college.
You say deconstruction of evolution?
Yeah. So basically,
deconstruction of evolution.
Right. This is what it says. It says humans are most closely related evolutionarily to chimpanzees. Now watch this. Humans, chimps, and other primates in turn share an ancestor with all other mammals. Mammals share a most recent common ancestor with reptiles. Mammals and reptiles share an ancestors with anthropods. As a group, animals share an ancestors with fungi. Animals and fungi together share an ancestors with plants, and so on. If we go back far enough in time, we find that all living things have a single ancestor in common. This history of descent with modification can be represented in the form of a very large branching tree life. The set of skills required, now listen to this, the set of skills required to understand the reason with such information depicted in diagrammatic representations of the tree of life is referred to tree thinking. So this is the new curriculum that they about to implement into high school and college. Tree thinking, family, where we all are related to this one common ancestors, which they have yet to name.
Mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Alpha.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, evolutionary biologists distinguish macroevolution, which includes tree thinking, from microevolution, which includes natural selection. Although knowledge of natural selection and the ability to engage in tree thinking are likely correlated, no research has considered the relationship between students' understanding of these two facts of evolution. So now, natural selection and microevolution are facts. Okay. So even when we're dealing with the smallest of what they call evolution, which is what, I'm not mistaken, Elder Apostle was talking about. That genetic change is not a change to change it from one species to a new species. That genetic change is just an adaptation to where it's at, right? So, like the polar bear. The polar bear is the only bear that got webbed paws. To be able to function and swim in its environment, right? You don't see the evolution changing because the ice is melting. So now all of a sudden we don't have polar bears once all the ice melt up there in Antarctica.
They're still going to be polars, but they turn brown. They're white because of their environment, and as that ice melts, they're turning back to their original color, but they still have those webbed feet that you're speaking of.
Somebody mute your mic.
So then even in this lifetime, we still won't see this so-called evolutionary process. Because again, if that was the case, where okay, so once he get back to his natural color, so now all of a sudden the web paws is gone. Not at all. Because it'll still have to swim, because it's going to still stay in that area, in that range.
The web paws are still there. And
you see what I'm saying? It's not going to move just because the ice melt. It's not say, okay, well, it's time to move on. Let me go find some more ice.
It's like as the conditions change, you change with it.
You see what I'm saying? So but it stays the same. So as it has children, the children's going to have web paws. It's not going to eventually just
What happened?
Yeah, well,
I think he dropped off. I think he dropped off.
Man, all you gotta do is listen. All you gotta do is listen to these people talking about beings of years.
Google Scholar want to debate me now. He in the back chat. I want to debate you after you on evolution.
Well, tell him to drop his ass back on. Tell him to drop his ass back on.
I told him to. He want to type in the back.
Stop doing that.
Somebody
man.
With that information on that video, None of these unaccredited Negroes have a chance, bro.
So in that video, because I was moving around a little bit, especially when he was talking about Y chromosome Adam and mitochondrial Eve, was he saying that everybody come from them too?
Yeah.
How?
I mean, I don't know how. I'm not a geneticist. I can't answer his questions. You know what happens is that you have to go back and look at the video. You know how to rebuttal people's information. You know, go back, look at the video, and act like you want to rebuttal it. And if you can't, then he's telling the truth.
Right. What he's saying is, what he was saying was the evidence now is more so leaning towards that it all started with two people in Africa, and all of us came from those two people. That's what the evidence is showing based on the DNA.
Yeah, I can't tell you how, but what I do know, and I've been hearing this ever since I was a little boy, because we was born in a new paradigm shift. Okay? I've been hearing since the freaking 80s, bro. Since Time Life magazine came out. The Time and Life magazine came out with the black Adam and Eve on the cover. Okay, they've been saying that out of Africa
I remember that.
we all came from, that we all came from the same one single common ancestor. They've been saying that over 30 years now.
Right.
And these guys need to stop it with this monkey business, bro. They need to cut that shit out. I mean, just naturally, it just don't even look like it. It don't even sound like it makes fucking sense.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They talking about
It
we lost
just sounds
tails.
ridiculous.
How come we don't have the ancestor with the tail that's walking around? How come we don't see evolution in the monkeys now, or somebody turned into a goddamn, like I don't be understanding
You
this.
know how many times I done brought that up, brother? How come we
Yeah.
don't see no monkeys with a monkey top and human legs or
Yeah.
any of this shit running around right now? And they only find these species like Lucy, they find one off. Like, we know we bury ours in burial graves and sites and stuff, so you should find a plethora of bones. But when it comes to Lucy and these cavemen linking it to us, they're only finding one of a kind. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I call it straight bullshit. When I walk on the banks to go fishing, I find lizard fucking bones, I find dead snakes and fish bones along the side. A plethora of those bones to let me know what type of species live in this area. But when I use that type of logic, it's not scientific, you know what I'm saying? Because they found this one off and it has to be the missing link. I call bullshit on that.
Yeah. Because I told her, I asked him about, because when they say we was an ape.
The thing is, they always saying that we don't show sources, but then when we do show the sources, they attack the sources, or they try to act like the sources are not real.
Hey, when that source is real, we got a geneticist sitting right there in the laboratory. My
You sure do.
brother,
The nigga in the background, Terry, talking about that's from a creationist web. He's saying I posted the video. This is how slow he is. He's saying I posted the video and that it's from a creationist website, and all the stuff he posted is from
who gives a fuck? Debunk the information, dog.
They make it seem like just because a person believes in creation, he don't know science. Like, what they supposed to mean?
Debunk the info, fuck face.
They try to do that to me when I was on Sarnetta with Unc and Sebastian. I like this come. They said this come from a creationist website. I said, but they're using credible biologists. You know what I'm saying? They're using credible scientists. And what's the point? Debunk.
I wouldn't give a fuck if you got it out of Dolly Parton's ass. Debunk the information.
Facts.
Right.
Don't be mad at the messenger.
All they can do is just act like they say it's false. So that's all they can do. They can't debunk it.
Right.
Say it's false and get your ass and keep your ass off our platforms with that bullshit.
They straight teaching. They straight teaching racist science. This is the shit that white people used to try to tell us. This is shit when I used to be in school. They used to try to tell black people we was monkeys and
And
shit.
you
Man,
wonder why we get D's and E's in class and shit. Because we can't make sense out this stupid ass shit.
Exactly.
Facts. And then when you go home and you tell your parents and they tell you the truth, then you go back to school telling the teacher the truth, and they make you look like a fool in front of the whole classroom.
Yeah.
Personal experience. My dad always told me the truth when I got home with this American history shit. My father sat us down and told us the real truth. And of course, I thought I wanted to be smarter than the teacher, so I'd always go back. No, teacher, you're wrong. And the teacher would, kick me out the class, send me to the office, try to make me seem like I was disrupting the classroom, when the knowledge that I was passing to the students was what I received from my father, which was truth. They can't have truth. They can't have a student smarter than the teacher. You know what I'm saying? So,
when I used to talk to evolutionists, they used to tell me, "Oh, we never said we